Hey, this is Rick Casalage from exercisesforinjuries.com. Today I wanted to welcome you to another interview, and this one is with fellow Canadian Charmaine. And so Charmaine, I'll get you to introduce yourself and we'll get into the interview.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me on, Rick. So I'm Charmaine Ironside. I live in Calgary, Canada, and I own a couple of functional training fitness studios in Calgary. And I also have a wellness business online where I help women gain more self-confidence, overcome emotional eating tendencies, and find their body that they really want to live in without having to diet or do any restrictive kind of routines like they've done for many years. Yeah.
Awesome. So before we got on the interview, we were kind of talking about what's kind of the hidden cause that sabotages your clients' health and weight loss, and maybe you can let everyone know what that is.
Yeah, so it really is a very little known cause because most people don't even realize that they have that problem or that they're doing it. But most people actually sabotage their positive momentum, their results, because they don't have the right level of self-belief and body image. So a lot of people, they actually don't believe they deserve to be healthy. They actually don't believe that they can, be successful. And because of the way our society is, it's sort of an unrealistic ideal anyway. What's the perfect body? For most of us, it's not even realistic. So that can really lead to a lot of defeat and failure in the fitness and body world, is trying to reach an unrealistic goal.
Awesome. So then why do people struggle with like beauty and body image?
I think one of the biggest reasons is media. So, you open up Instagram, and what do you see? You see all these perfect airbrushed, tiny women doing fitness maneuvers. You turn on the TV, all the commercials are these perfect made-up people. So what we're surrounded with, magazines, social media, all that stuff, is just a really unrealistic ideal of what beauty is, of how we should look, I guess. So I think that's a big reason. Another thing I think is just how we were raised. As a little girl, I thought I was too fat. Little comments that maybe grandparents made, or uncles or aunts or parents, those things also really stick with us. So I think it's a lot to do with our upbringing. Maybe it's something someone said to you at school when you were young. But I think media and also the things that were said to you growing up are huge, huge factors in your body image today, no matter what your age.
Excellent. And so then looking at body image, what are the most common body image issues that people have?
Well, I guess issue-wise, there's different levels of it, but basically you look in the mirror and you just see a distortion. That's kind of the first level. What you see is not actually reality, because we are generally, unless we do a lot of work on ourselves, we are our own worst critic. So just looking in the mirror and hating what you see, that's number one, but that can really go down a slippery slope. Anorexia, bulimia, people that over-exercise. So it can just kind of take a lot of different turns down the road, but the basic one is you just look in the mirror and you're not seeing reality. Like an extreme example is anorexics. They could be in the hospital at 60 pounds, almost going to die because they have no body fat, and they still see themselves as fat in the mirror. And so it's just it's just a belief system and a way that we see ourselves, which isn't the reality.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what is the difference between like a healthy and unhealthy body image?
You know what? I think a healthy body image is just you actually look in the mirror and you choose to like what you see. It doesn't mean you have a perfect body. I don't really know if I've ever met anyone that loved everything about their body, but I have met people, and including myself, like I was saying, with a lot of work and a lot of self-love, I can look in the mirror and generally like what I see and give myself a compliment. So I think positive body image just means you can still love yourself even though you're going to have imperfections, because we all have imperfections. And then a poor body image is that no matter how you look, you still hate what you see. It doesn't matter how skinny you get. It doesn't matter how much plastic surgery you have. It doesn't matter how much makeup you wear or your eyelash extensions or whatever. You still pick yourself apart. And it really is a choice. You have to just decide that you want to love yourself as you are now. And of course you can make positive changes, but you really have to consciously choose, I want to find things I love about myself. And that's a real game changer for people.
And then do you find it's worse in men or women, or are they equal, or what's your experience?
Good
The
question.
issue with body image.
I think it's more prevalent to talk about it for women, for sure, but I've met a lot of men who struggle with it, but it's sort of like a closeted thing because, men don't generally talk about their feelings as much, and men just don't talk about that stuff. My husband would never admit that he had poor body image, even if he did. Like, it's just not as, I guess, acceptable to talk about it. But women, we are objectified and we are more kind of in the media. But men are too. There's the six packs all over the place, and
Yeah.
that's not really realistic. People, men can have just as much body image problems as women. I think it's just probably more common for women because I don't know. Actually, I don't. That's a great question, but I think it affects both. It's just more talked about for women.
For women. Okay. And then we talked about, next question was going to be like, what are some of the causes of negative body image? You kind of mentioned the media. An example of social media is Instagram, and then, friends and family making negative comments. Are there any, other things that can affect one's body image?
Well, I think one that kind of ties them all together is comparison. Comparison is like a disease. If you are going to compare yourself to your friends, to your sister, to the media, to the magazine, then you're probably always going to have poor body image. When I look at magazines, I know because I'm in the fitness industry that they're all airbrushed and they're, maybe not all photoshopped, but a lot of them are photoshopped. And I don't compare myself to that. I don't know where they've been. I don't know if they're happy. I think another thing is, what's your definition of success? Is weighing and measuring every meal and spending 3 hours to get ready for a photo shoot and having no freedom around food, is that success? Because for me, that's not success. So I think if you can stop comparing yourself, you're going to be a huge step ahead with body image stuff, because we're all built differently. My sister and brother are both very slim and, tall people. And my whole life I compared myself to them. And it was an impossible ideal. So in my late 20s, I realized, okay, I have a different body type. So once I could stop comparing, then I started to be more okay in my own skin, I guess. So comparison is one of the worst things. So if you can stop that, you will be rocking.
Okay. And then, so some people might just think or say, like, what's the big deal? Like, why is it important to have a positive body image?
Well, I mean, this body is where you have to live every single day of your life. Even if you choose not to look in the mirror, I mean, you know what body you're living in. And to not love the body you have is a really, really hard way to go through life. And I know that because I did it for many years. But once you learn to just appreciate your body, it's just like life just flows better. Your body is happier. Like, I just think if you have poor body image, there's no way you're living your true potential. There's no way you're living your best life. So it is important to cultivate positive body image. And obviously, I mean, I think it's most concerning maybe as a parent to see, like, your daughter growing up with poor body image and dieting and trying to keep up with her friends. I think that can be a really slippery slope. Anorexia, suicide. Some people commit suicide because they just hate themselves that much. And a big part of that is that they hate their body. So, I mean, I think having a poor body image can be a huge, huge deficit in life in many ways.
Okay. And, so looking at kind of body image, people might kind of think, how they determine body image is how they, look in the mirror. But probably another way is the scale. And so how do you know if you have like an unhealthy relationship with the scale?
Yeah, that's something I really, really work on with my clients because in fitness, a big reason why people join my gym is because they want to lose weight, they want to look better, they want to have a better body image. But the reality is, a smaller weight, a lower weight, and a smaller body does not equal a better body image. It goes back to the anorexia. People that are anorexic still see themselves as hideous and fat, and so it's all up here. So if you weigh yourself, multiple times a day, if you would never even consider weighing yourself at night, if you take your shoes off, your rings off, your clothes off before you weigh yourself, those are kind of indicators that you have an unhealthy relationship with the scale. And the biggest one is if you can step on the scale and that number can decide whether you're going to have a good day or a bad day, then you definitely need to rethink how you think about your body, because if a number on a scale can define your happiness, there's a big, big problem there. So I still do have a scale in my home and at my studio because for me, it's a good accountability tool. Maybe once a month I'll jump on for interest's sake, but my clothes fitting well and the energy I have and the way I look in the mirror, that is so much more important to me than some number that really doesn't mean that much. So not scale victories is what I'm really focused on.
Awesome. And so then what would be some, tips that you could recommend for people to kind of cultivate or build more of a positive body image?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously it sounds nice to have a great body image, but it's not easy in our society. Society kind of has this big wave of wanting us to be down on ourselves, and that's how media works. That's why we want to go buy the best clothes, buy the nicest makeup, have the new car, have the better house, because we want to feel better. But really has to come from within. So a few things I really have worked really well for me and for a lot of my clients. The first thing is when I wake up and I look in the mirror, I say 3 things I like about myself, whether they're external or internal. Oh, your eyes look awesome. Your eyes are beautiful, Charmaine. Or you look super strong in that shirt today. Or whatever it is, you're going to really inspire people today. Whatever it is, but it's just something to make myself feel good, to start my day off in a positive mood. I really avoid social media generally. I mean, for my business, I like to post. But I don't scroll down and try to compare myself to every friend and, person on there, because that can be a really, really negative pattern. So I do some pretty good social media detoxes, and I make sure that I'm not comparing myself to other people. Another thing is just the way you talk to yourself. 80% of our thoughts are negative, generally. And so if we're waking up and telling ourselves how fat and flabby we look and how gross our arms are and how disgusting our bellies are, we're never going to get anywhere. You can't have a positive outcome from a negative motivation. So if you're just trying to diet and lose weight and look a certain way because you hate your body and because you want to look like your friend, you're never going to be successful long term. You have to find some things that you love about yourself so that you can have some positive momentum to carry you long term, because negative motivations will never sustain you long term. So I'm kind of woo woo. I like the mirror work. I love positive affirmations. A few times a day to my phone, I have little reminders that I'm beautiful and that I'm strong and that I'm confident. And you just have to fake it till you make it. Really, for probably 2 years, I faked it till I made it. And now, not to sound cocky, but I do love myself and I do love my body. And yes, there's things I'd love a firmer butt and I'd love a few other things, but I really respect and honor and appreciate my body. So it's taken me a long time. I'm 32 and I started dieting and hating my body when I was 11. So I kind of really got into this stuff about 3 years ago, and it's just part of my life now. But it takes constant work, especially with the momentum of society wanting you to think that you're fat and ugly and crappy. So you got to work on it. That was a mouthful.